The moment you believe in yourself, everything starts to shift. Most people feel stuck, not because they're not capable, but because they don't believe they can actually change things. They wake up feeling behind. They talk themselves out of good ideas. They second-guess every decision. That's what holds them back. Not talent, not time, not even fear. Just low belief. This audiobook was made for that, to help you build belief in yourself step by step, in real life, with real actions. No complex advice, just straight, honest tools that make sense. Things you can actually do every day, because when you stop waiting to feel confident and start acting with purpose, your mindset changes. And once your mindset changes, your life moves forward. This is about learning how to trust yourself again, to show up, to do the small things that make a big difference. Not someday, today. Starting right here. Chapter 1. Believe you can change, and start proving it now. Believe you can change, and start proving it now. That's the beginning of real progress. That's the moment your life starts to move in a different direction. Not when someone believes in you, not when circumstances change, not when the timing is perfect. It starts the second you believe that you're not locked into who you've been. That belief, that deep conviction that you're capable of more, is the foundation of every success story you'll ever read or hear about. And it's the foundation you need to build for yourself. Now, if you sit back and wait for motivation to land on your lap, you'll stay stuck. And it's easy to stay stuck. It's easy to say, I'll start when I feel better, or I'll try once things settle down. But change doesn't come for people who wait. Change comes for people who decide. You decide you've had enough of where you are. You decide you don't want to feel powerless anymore. You decide that the version of yourself you've been living with is not the one you want to carry into tomorrow. That decision, right there, is the spark. But it's only the spark. The proof comes next. You prove it by doing something with it. One thing. Not everything at once. You don't have to climb the whole mountain in a day, but you do need to lace up your shoes and start walking. You need to show up for yourself, even if it's just waking up earlier, even if it's just saying no when you usually say yes, even if it's just going for a walk when your mind tells you to scroll through your phone for another hour. That's proof. And when you stack enough proof day after day, you start to build a new story in your head. That story is not based on who you used to be. It's based on what you're doing now. That's the truth of it. People don't believe in themselves because they have a long history of success. They believe in themselves because they get up and do something hard. They believe in themselves because they make a promise and keep it. And when you keep enough promises to yourself, even small ones, your confidence starts to rise. Not because of what you tell yourself in the mirror, but because of what you show yourself in real life. And that's the kind of belief that matters. Not fake confidence, not hype, but earned belief. The kind that comes from proving you're not who you were last week. That's how change really happens. That's how you start to achieve cool things. Not because you suddenly feel amazing all the time, but because you act your way into belief. I know how it feels to be stuck. I know how it feels to doubt yourself. I know the voice that tells you, you've tried before and failed. I know the feeling of wanting to change, but being afraid that you'll let yourself down again. That's normal. But if you're going to believe in yourself, you have to stop being loyal to the old version of you. You have to stop repeating the old story just because it's comfortable. And you have to stop making decisions that prove that story right. You have to start creating a new story, one action at a time. No matter how small. Because belief is not a gift. It's not something people hand you. It's something you earn with your own behavior. You do the things you said you'd do, even when they're boring, even when they're hard, and even when nobody's watching. That's how belief is built. If you wake up tomorrow and choose to act differently than you did yesterday, you're already changing. The proof is in the action. And if you do that again the next day, now you've got momentum. And momentum beats motivation every single time. Motivation is a feeling. Momentum is a fact. Most people wait too long to believe. They wait until someone gives them permission. They wait until life is easier. They wait until they feel more ready. But the truth is, the belief comes after you start moving. It comes after you make a change. It comes after you do something difficult. That's when your brain says, maybe I can do this, not before. So what's stopping you from doing one hard thing today? What's stopping you from taking one real action that's different than the one you took yesterday? Nothing but the old story, the story that says you're not good enough, or you always mess things up, or you've failed too many times. But that story doesn't own you anymore unless you let it. You can tear that story apart today. You can write a new one with your choices. The reason people don't believe in themselves is because they spend all their time remembering their worst moments. They replay their regrets. They repeat the same mistakes, and then they wonder why they feel stuck. But if you want to move forward, you've got to do something your old self would never do. You've got to stop feeding your doubt and start feeding your progress. You've got to take actions that make the old version of you uncomfortable. That's how you build belief. You make progress in front of your doubt. You prove you can change in the middle of your fear. And once you do that, once you start stacking wins, you realize something powerful. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to feel confident all the time. You don't need anyone to rescue you. All you need is one reason to move, and one action to back it up. Then you build from there. So if you're tired of waiting for the right time, if you're tired of feeling stuck in a cycle of overthinking and hesitation, the way out is action. Small action, real action, honest action. The kind of action that reflects who you want to be, not who you've been. Don't underestimate the power of small change. That's where belief is born. That's where confidence starts. That's where your life begins to shift. You don't need to change everything today, but you do need to change something. And once you prove to yourself that you can do that, once you see yourself taking the first step, you'll start to believe that step 2 is possible. Then step 3. Then more. And suddenly, you're becoming the person you knew you could be all along. Believe you can change. And don't just say it. Show it. Show it with your discipline. Show it with your choices. Show it with your consistency. Show it every single day until you become undeniable to yourself. Because when you believe in yourself and you prove that belief through your actions, there is no limit to the cool things you can achieve. And the best part? You don't need to wait one more day. You can start right now. Chapter 2. Push yourself to do what you always avoid. Most people know exactly what they need to do, but they don't do it. They avoid it. Not because they can't, but because it's uncomfortable, because it forces them to face something real. That one task, that one conversation, that one decision, whatever it is. It's been sitting in the back of your mind for weeks, months, maybe even years. And every time you push it aside, you feel a little more stuck, a little more tired, and a little more disconnected from who you want to become. Pushing yourself to do the thing you always avoid is not about willpower. It's about finally getting honest with yourself. It's about asking, why am I really avoiding this? Is it fear? Is it uncertainty? Is it the pressure of having to live up to something? Or maybe it's the worry that you'll fail again. Whatever the reason is, the longer you avoid it, the more it controls you. Growth doesn't come from staying where you feel safe. It comes from doing what's been left undone. You know what that is for you. Everyone does. It's the thing that sits on your to-do list day after day and drains your energy just by being there. You think ignoring it is helping, but deep down, it's weighing you down. Avoiding it doesn't take the pressure away. It builds more pressure. And the only way to release that weight is to face it head on. You don't need to feel ready, you need to move. That's the difference between those who change and those who stay the same. They stop waiting to feel brave. They stop waiting for motivation. They stop hoping for the perfect moment. And they just do the thing. Not because it's easy, not because they're confident, but because they're tired of staying stuck. You have to stop letting comfort guide your decisions. The comfort of skipping the hard conversation. The comfort of delaying that workout. The comfort of avoiding the application. The comfort of putting off the apology. These small moments where you choose comfort over action are not harmless. They build a habit of avoiding. And once that habit takes over, it becomes your identity. That's when people say things like, "That's just how I am." But the truth is, it's not who you are. It's what you've practiced. What would happen if today, instead of putting that thing off again, you faced it? What if you walked straight into what you've been avoiding and said, "I'm doing this anyway"? That shift alone can change your entire direction. That moment of courage, even if it's shaky, builds something inside you, because the real strength isn't in what you say, it's in what you do when it's uncomfortable. And yes, you might fail. You might mess it up. You might feel awkward. But you know what's worse than failing at something hard? Never trying at all. Never giving yourself the chance to grow. Never knowing what you're capable of. You can recover from failure. You can fix a mistake. But you can't get back the time you lose by avoiding what matters. People don't grow by doing what's easy. They grow by doing what's necessary. The hard conversations, the honest reflections, the uncomfortable starts. These are the things that push you forward, not talking about them, not thinking about them, but journaling about them, but doing them, even badly, even imperfectly. You don't have to get it right the first time. You just have to get started. The fear you feel before doing the thing is almost always worse than the thing itself. The anxiety builds up in your mind, but the second you start taking action, the power shifts back to you. You're no longer a victim of your thoughts. You're in control again. You're showing yourself that your decisions matter more than your feelings. If you keep avoiding the same things over and over, your life starts to shrink, your confidence fades, your energy drops. You start to feel lost, not because you're broken, but because you keep running from the exact moments that would shape you into someone stronger. One of the most powerful things you can do for your self-belief is prove that you'll do the hard thing. Not talk about it, not plan it, not make it your goal for next week, but do it now. Even if it's just one step, even if it's not perfect. That step says something powerful. It says, I'm not afraid of growth. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid of change. Most of the time, the breakthrough you're waiting for is hiding behind the thing you avoid. You think it's the fear that's in your way, but it's really the hesitation, the delay, the choice to wait. And every time you wait, you lose time, you lose momentum, and most of all, you lose trust in yourself. If you want to believe in yourself, start by being the kind of person who does the uncomfortable thing. The kind of person who doesn't run from pressure but uses it to grow. The kind of person who stops making excuses and starts making moves. It won't feel easy. It won't always feel good. But it will change your life. It will give you your power back. It will remind you that you're capable of far more than you've been settling for. You've got things on your list right now that you've been avoiding for too long. And if you don't face them, they'll keep chasing you. That email you don't want to send, that apology you've been holding back, that project you said you'd start months ago, those aren't just tasks. They're turning points. Every one of them is a chance to rewrite who you are. And don't confuse being busy with being brave. You can stay busy all day and still avoid the thing that matters. You can check off 10 easy tasks and still feel empty. But the moment you do the one hard thing, everything shifts. You feel lighter, you feel clearer, you feel proud, not because it was easy, but because you did it anyway. Push yourself to face the uncomfortable. Push yourself to stop hiding behind distractions. Push yourself to show up when it's inconvenient, because the real power comes from doing what your old self would avoid. That's where the change happens. That's when you start believing again. That's when you earn the right to say, I'm growing. Nobody's coming to force you into it. Nobody's going to push you forever. At some point, it has to come from you. You have to be the one who says, enough. I'm done hiding. I'm done making excuses. I'm going to face it today. Because nothing changes until you stop running. And the truth is, you don't need another reminder. You already know. You've known for a long time. What you need now is action. And that action starts with one honest step into what you've been avoiding. Do that, and your life will never feel the same again. Chapter 3. Speak up for yourself without feeling bad anymore. There comes a point in your life when staying silent starts to hurt more than speaking up ever could. And for too long you've been swallowing your thoughts, hiding your opinions, nodding in agreement just to avoid conflict. You've stayed quiet in moments that mattered. You've let others talk over you, push past you, and make choices you didn't agree with just to keep the peace. But deep down, you knew that keeping the peace on the outside was costing you your peace on the inside. Speaking up for yourself isn't about being loud. It's not about arguing. It's not about proving anyone wrong. It's about saying what you need to say so you don't keep living in silence. It's about standing up when something doesn't feel right. It's about trusting your own voice enough to let it be heard, even if it shakes. That's where strength lives. Not in how much you know, not in how many words you say, but in whether or not you have the courage to say what's true for you when it counts. Most people who stay quiet aren't doing it because they don't have anything to say. They're doing it because somewhere along the way, they started believing their words didn't matter. Maybe they were made to feel too small. Maybe they were taught to stay polite at all costs. Maybe every time they spoke up in the past, someone shut them down. And over time, that silence became normal. It became the safer choice. It became a habit. But it's a habit that slowly breaks your connection with yourself. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't have to keep holding your breath to make others comfortable. You don't have to agree with everything just to be liked. And you don't have to carry guilt for speaking with honesty. If something bothers you, you have every right to say it. If something matters to you, you have every right to stand behind it. You don't need permission to value your thoughts. You don't need approval to express what's real to you. And it's not about being perfect when you speak. It's about being real. It's about showing up as you are. It's about trusting that your needs are valid, your feelings are worth hearing, and your boundaries deserve to be respected. That's not selfish. That's called self-respect. And without it, people will keep treating you the way you allow them to. If you keep staying silent when you should speak, you're teaching others to ignore you, and you're teaching yourself that your voice isn't worth using. That's a habit you have to break. You've spent enough time holding back. You've carried enough stress by pretending you were fine when you weren't. You've let too many things slide that never should have, and that weight adds up. It builds pressure, it creates resentment, and worst of all, it makes you feel invisible. You're not powerless. You just haven't been using the one thing that can change everything: your voice. That starts with small moments. Saying no when something doesn't feel right, speaking honestly even when it's uncomfortable, telling someone you need space, asking for what you want without apologizing for it. These are not huge acts on the outside, but they are life-changing on the inside, because every time you speak up for yourself, you're rebuilding your belief. You're reminding yourself that your voice matters. You're proving to yourself that you can handle honesty. And here's the truth: people may not always like it when you speak up. Some might get uncomfortable. Some might push back. That's okay. It's not your job to manage their feelings. It's your job to stay honest with your own. You're not being difficult. You're not being dramatic. You're not being disrespectful. You're being clear. You're being human. And if someone can't handle your honesty, they're not someone you need to keep pleasing. You've done enough of that. You've put others first long enough. You've silenced yourself just to fit in. But you're not here to live someone else's version of life. You're here to live yours. And that requires courage. The kind of courage that shows up in conversations that feel risky. The kind of courage that holds eye contact when you say, "That's not okay with me." The kind of courage that doesn't shrink itself just to avoid tension. You'll never be fully at peace with yourself if you keep holding back the truth. You can try to bury it, distract yourself, justify your silence, but that truth will always find a way back to you. It will show up in stress, it will show up in fatigue, it will show up in moments where you feel like you're losing yourself. That's not life being hard, that's your voice trying to wake you up. It's time to stop living in fear of being misunderstood. People will misunderstand you whether you stay silent or speak up. You might as well be misunderstood for being honest than liked for being fake. At least then you're living in alignment with who you are. At least then you're choosing respect over approval. That's how confidence grows. Not from being perfect, but from being real and staying real, even when it's uncomfortable. And don't wait until you're not afraid. Speak anyway. Say it kindly, say it clearly, say it with calm, but say it. Because nothing changes until you do. No one can hear what you never say. No one can honor a boundary you never set. No one can guess what you really want. If you want your life to change, your voice has to be part of that change. It has to be included. It has to be active. You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to be honest, even if it's awkward, even if your voice shakes, even if you're not sure how it'll be received. That's how you build trust with yourself. That's how you stop feeling like a stranger in your own life. That's how you stop carrying guilt for speaking truths that were never meant to stay hidden. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be heard. You are allowed to want things. You are allowed to have limits. You are allowed to speak your mind without feeling like you owe anyone an apology. And the more you practice that, the stronger you get. Not louder, stronger. Strong in the way you carry yourself. Strong in how you make decisions. Strong in how you handle relationships, and when you start speaking up, something powerful happens. You stop settling. You stop pretending. You stop agreeing to things that drain you, and you start creating a life that actually reflects who you are. Not the version of you that's quiet and agreeable, but the version of you that's clear and alive. That version of you is already inside. It's just been waiting for you to stop playing small. It's been waiting for you to speak, not once, not when it's easy, but every day, in every way, in every place where your truth matters. Because once you speak up for yourself and you stop feeling bad about it, you take your power back. And once you have that, nobody gets to decide your worth again. Chapter 4. Show up daily, no matter how you feel. If you only show up when you feel great, you'll never become consistent. You'll never build momentum. You'll stay trapped in a cycle of motivation and hesitation. The truth is, the most important days to show up are the ones when you don't feel like it. The days when you're tired, unmotivated, frustrated, unsure, or overwhelmed, those are the days that shape your future. Because how you act when things are uncomfortable says more about your character than what you do when everything feels easy. There are mornings when you wake up and nothing feels right. Your body's heavy, your mind's foggy, you doubt yourself, you question everything, and your first instinct is to pull back, to cancel the plan, to delay the task, to make an excuse. But every time you do that, you reinforce a pattern that says, if I don't feel good, I don't have to try. And that's a pattern that destroys self-belief, because deep down you know you're not living with discipline. You're living on emotion. You're letting your feelings decide your future, and feelings are not stable. They rise and fall. They change with the weather, with a comment, with a distraction. If you build your life based on how you feel each day, you'll build an unstable life. You'll make progress for a week, then crash for 2. You'll feel unstoppable one day, then disappear the next. That's why you have to learn to show up regardless. Not because it's easy, not because it's fun, but because it's who you said you want to become. Discipline is doing the work even when it's the last thing you want to do. It's sticking to your commitment when your motivation disappears. It's getting up, getting ready, and doing what you said you'd do without negotiation. And that's where confidence grows. That's where belief starts to take root. When you stop waiting to feel perfect and start showing up, because you know it's necessary. Some of your most important progress will come on days when your energy is low, your mood is off, and your desire is gone. But you still walk into the gym. You still open the laptop. You still practice the skill. You still move forward, even if it's slower than usual. That's what builds inner strength. Not massive results, not huge wins, but the habit of not quitting when it's hard. And nobody else sees that. Nobody claps for you when you get out of bed after 4 hours of sleep and keep your promise. Nobody celebrates the quiet discipline of showing up when your thoughts are all over the place. But you see it, you feel it. And over time, it starts to shift the way you view yourself. You're not just someone who talks about goals. You're someone who follows through. Someone who doesn't need perfect conditions to move forward. There's a power in showing up broken, showing up tired, showing up unsure, and doing it anyway. Because that means you're no longer controlled by excuses. You're led by intention. You're no longer relying on ideal situations. You're driven by responsibility. And that kind of approach changes everything. It creates structure. It creates purpose. It creates results that last, not because they're fast, but because they're consistent. Most people start strong and fade fast. They get excited, they set goals, they talk big. But when life gets messy, when they're not in the mood, when stress kicks in, when emotions shift, they disappear. That's what separates those who achieve from those who only wish. One group does the work regardless, the other waits for conditions to improve. But life doesn't always improve on your schedule. You have to work through the lows, not just the highs. Every single time you show up when you don't feel like it, you make yourself stronger. Not just physically or mentally, but emotionally. Because you're teaching yourself not to retreat. You're teaching yourself to keep going, even when it's inconvenient. And that's what gives you resilience. That's what makes you different from the version of yourself that keeps starting and stopping. This is not about forcing perfection. It's about staying engaged. Some days your best will be a full effort. Other days your best might be just showing up and doing what you can. And that's enough. The goal is to build the habit of not disappearing, to build the skill of presence, to build the discipline of being reliable, not just to others, but to yourself. You don't need to crush every day, but you do need to be there for every day. Because that's where the compound effect begins. That's where small improvements stack up. That's where belief becomes something real. Not because you hit some huge milestone, but because you didn't skip the hard days. You didn't skip the quiet days. You didn't quit when no one was watching. And this applies to every area of life. Your health, your career, your relationships, your mindset. The more you show up, the more you improve. The more consistent you are, the more momentum you build. The more you honor your word, the more you trust yourself. And self-trust is the key to everything. If you don't trust yourself to follow through, you'll always be stuck in cycles of doubt. But if you know that no matter what, you'll show up, you'll feel unstoppable, even on the bad days. You're not going to feel excited every morning. You're not going to feel focused every hour, but you still have a choice. And that choice says everything. Will you act based on emotion or based on who you want to become? Will you retreat when it's uncomfortable, or will you keep moving because you said you would? It's not always about pushing hard. Sometimes it's just about showing up with presence. Even when it's boring, even when there's no praise, even when there's no immediate reward. That's the part most people skip, but that's the part that builds winners. You don't have to be in a good mood to take a small step forward. You don't need high energy to show up. You don't need perfect clarity to follow through. You just need to be willing. Willing to feel tired and still stay on track. Willing to feel unmotivated and still complete your task. Willing to feel uncertain and still show up for what matters. This is what separates talkers from doers. Anyone can talk when they're excited. Anyone can take action when everything feels right. But the ones who change their lives are the ones who show up when it's hard. Who don't cancel the process because their feelings shifted. Who stay connected to their purpose regardless of their mood. It's not about how you feel today. And if you start treating each day like it matters, even when it doesn't feel great, you'll look back 6 months from now and realize you've become someone new. Not because of a massive breakthrough, but because you stayed with it. Every single day, show up tired, show up stressed, show up unsure, but show up. Because that's what builds the kind of life you actually want to live. Chapter 5. Take full control of your thoughts every morning. Every day begins in your mind before it begins in your life. The thoughts you allow when you wake up decide what kind of day you're going to have. If you don't take full control of your thoughts every morning, the day will run you instead of you running the day. The direction of your mind in those first few minutes matters more than most people realize. Most people open their eyes and immediately let their mind wander into negativity, stress, fear, regret, or distraction. Before their feet touch the floor, they're already behind. They're already overwhelmed. They're already feeding the wrong thoughts. That's not just a bad habit, it's dangerous. Your thoughts are not just background noise, they're instructions. Your mind listens to what you focus on and starts building your reality around it. If your first thoughts are about what's missing, what went wrong, or what could go wrong today, you've already given your power away. But if your first thoughts are about who you want to be, how you want to show up, and what you're going to do to take control, you've taken the first and most important step toward a stronger day. Taking control of your thoughts doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It doesn't mean forcing fake positivity. It means being intentional about what you allow in your mind first thing in the morning. It means choosing what thoughts get your attention and what thoughts get ignored. That's a skill, and like any skill, it takes repetition, patience, and a real decision to stop letting your thoughts run wild. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who chooses which thoughts get to stay. You can't stop a negative thought from showing up, but you can stop it from unpacking and staying the day. You can tell yourself, that thought's not helping me, and move your focus. But that kind of control doesn't just happen. You have to train it like a muscle. You have to practice interrupting unhelpful thoughts with something stronger. Every morning you wake up, your mind is waiting for direction. If you don't give it one, it will grab onto whatever's nearby: old fears, current stress, social media, unfinished problems, and that's what most people do. They check their phone before they check their mindset. They react before they decide. They let the outside world set the tone for their inner world. That's backwards. That's how people stay stuck in mental chaos. Start your morning with ownership. Before the noise gets in, build silence. Before the stress arrives, create structure. Before the pressure shows up, remind yourself what actually matters today. Write it down if you have to. Say it out loud. But whatever you do, don't leave your mind wide open for random thoughts to take over. Decide what kind of thinking gets to live there today. What you think in the morning becomes how you speak. How you speak becomes how you act. How you act becomes how you live. And if your thoughts are filled with doubt, blame, and fear, your actions will follow the same direction. But if your thoughts are built on responsibility, clarity, and purpose, your actions will show that too. That's why the first thoughts of the day matter. They don't just affect your mood, they shape your habits. Most people blame their bad days on other people, unexpected problems, or bad timing. But if you trace it back, it often started with a messy mind, a mind that wasn't guided, a mind that was reacting instead of leading. You don't have to live like that. You can change it. But you have to decide that your mind is your responsibility, not your environment's responsibility, not your circumstances' responsibility, yours. So when you wake up tomorrow, take control. Don't scroll. Don't react. Don't rush. Take a moment. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what kind of thoughts do I need to lead my day today? Think about the actions you want to take. Think about the person you want to be proud of tonight. Think about the mindset that would help you get there. And hold on to that. That's the difference between drifting and leading. People who drift through life think whatever thoughts show up. People who lead their life choose their thoughts and use them to move forward. You have that choice every single morning, and it only takes a few minutes to set the tone. A few minutes of control in the morning can prevent hours of stress later on. There will always be noise, there will always be doubt, but those things only win if you give them attention. Train your mind to stay focused on what matters. Train your mind to see opportunity instead of disaster. Train your mind to think solutions instead of problems. That kind of thinking creates resilience. It creates clarity. It creates calm in the middle of pressure. And no, it won't be perfect every day. There will be mornings where your mind feels heavy, where your thoughts pull you towards stress and distraction. But those are the days when it matters most to stay in control, to reset, to start again. You don't need to get it right every time. You just need to keep showing up with intention. Keep choosing thoughts that strengthen you. Even if you wake up feeling off, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to carry that energy into your entire day. You can change the channel. You can move your body. You can take a breath. You can write out your thoughts and reframe them. You can speak out loud what you want to believe. You can say, "This is how I'm going to show up today," and hold yourself to that. That's what mentally strong people do. They don't wait for good days to think good thoughts. They create good days by choosing powerful thoughts first. And they do it daily, not because they're perfect, but because they've seen what happens when they don't. You've seen it too. You've lived the mornings where your thoughts dragged you around. You've felt what it's like to go through the day on autopilot, overwhelmed by your own thinking. You know how heavy that feels. And you also know the difference when you take a few minutes to reset your mind. You feel clearer, you feel lighter, you feel more grounded. That's not an accident. That's the power of taking control early. That's the result of showing up for your mind before anything else does. The person who controls their morning controls their life. And you don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to commit to one thing. Take full control of your thoughts before the world does. Give yourself that gift. Every morning, without fail, no matter what happened yesterday, no matter how you feel when you wake up, because if you win the battle in your mind first thing in the morning, you're already ahead. The rest of the day becomes easier, your focus is sharper, your actions are aligned, your energy is cleaner, and most importantly, you trust yourself more. You're no longer just reacting, you're leading, and that's how real progress begins, every single day. Chapter 6. Build strong habits that make you respect yourself. You can't feel good about yourself if you keep doing things that make you lose respect for who you are. You can try to think positive. You can repeat affirmations. You can read quotes that sound inspiring. But if your actions don't match your values, your self-respect will always be low. The way you feel about yourself is not built in your head. It's built in your habits. It's built in the small decisions you repeat when no one is watching. It's built in the promises you either keep or break. And when you stack the wrong habits, you start feeling like a version of yourself you don't admire. If you want to feel proud, if you want to look in the mirror and know you're becoming someone solid, then you have to build habits that make you earn your own respect. That's not about impressing other people. That's about knowing you're doing what's right for your growth, your health, your future, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because anyone can act right when it's easy. But building habits that actually shift your identity takes discipline. It takes choosing the harder path because you know the easier one always leads back to regret. There are days when your motivation won't show up. That's why habits matter more than feelings. A strong habit does not need your mood to cooperate. It just needs your commitment. If you wait until you feel like doing the right thing, you'll keep postponing progress. But when you build habits, the decision is already made. You don't have to argue with yourself. You just do what you said you'd do, because that's who you've become. The foundation of self-respect is showing up for the things that matter, day after day, even when your energy is low, even when no one is applauding. It's brushing your teeth when you're tired. It's making your bed, even if nobody else will see it. It's eating clean when it would be easier not to. It's finishing a workout you didn't want to start. It's sticking to your budget when temptation calls. These are not just tasks, they are statements. Every time you do one of these, you're proving something important, that you matter to you. You don't build respect for yourself through perfection, you build it through consistency, through showing up, failing, and showing up again, through doing the hard thing without needing recognition, through learning from your mistakes instead of hiding from them. That's how real character is built. Not in one big act, but in the quiet, repeated choices you make every day. If you've ever looked at yourself and felt disappointed, it's not because you failed, it's because you knew you could have done better, and you didn't. That's where the discomfort comes from. But the good news is, that's also where your power lives. Because if you can feel that disappointment, you can reverse it, you can turn it into action, you can use it as fuel to build a different pattern. You're not stuck, you're just unpracticed, and the moment you start building habits that align with your higher self, you'll notice something shift inside you. Start simple, don't try to overhaul everything at once. Pick one thing that you know would make you feel better about who you are. One habit. Make it small, make it clear, make it something you can stick to every day, not when it's convenient, but when it matters most. When it's inconvenient, that's when the habit is getting stronger. That's when the foundation is being laid. You don't need big wins. You need daily wins. You need something to point at the end of the day and say, I didn't quit. I followed through. I stayed with it. And it's not just about discipline, it's about identity. Every habit you build is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. If you want to see yourself differently, act differently. If you want to respect yourself, behave in a way that earns that respect. Not through shortcuts, not through lies, but through effort, through honesty, through showing up when the old you would have walked away. It's easy to say you want change, but are you building the habits that match that desire? Are you doing what needs to be done, or are you hoping you'll feel better without doing the work? Because change doesn't come from hoping, it comes from structure, from habits, from routines that push you to become better, even when you're tired, even when life is chaotic, Especially then, think about the version of yourself you respect most, the one you look up to in your mind. What does that version of you do every day? What time do they wake up? How do they speak to themselves? How do they respond to stress? What do they choose when no one's watching? Now ask yourself, are your current habits helping you become that version, or keeping you away from it? You don't have to become someone new overnight, but you do have to stop being loyal to habits that keep you average. You do have to stop justifying the actions that always lead to regret. And you do have to start practicing behaviors that match your goals, not your comfort. That's the price of growth. That's the cost of self-respect. It's not handed to you, it's earned. No more saying, I'll try. No more saying, I'll start next week. Either you build the habit or you don't. Either you take the step or you make another excuse. That's the truth. And every time you follow through, even when it's small, you're rewiring the way you think. You're rebuilding your self-image. You're shifting from doubt to belief, not with words but with actions. And yes, there will be setbacks. You will slip. You will miss a day. But that doesn't make you a failure. What matters is what you do next. Do you restart? Do you keep your standard high? Do you get back to work without waiting for motivation to return? That's what counts. That's what strong people do. They don't let one missed habit turn into 10. They don't let one mistake define the day. They reset fast. They remember why they started, and they keep building. Over time, these habits stop feeling like effort. They become part of who you are. They become automatic, and the more automatic they become, the more energy you free up to grow, to focus, to succeed. That's the real benefit of strong habits. They give you space to level up without having to think about the basics every day, because the basics are already handled. You are always building something. Whether you know it or not, your habits are shaping your future. So build the kind of habits that make you feel proud, that make you walk taller, that make you look in the mirror and say, I like who I'm becoming. That's not arrogance. That's ownership. That's knowing you're doing what it takes to be better. Not once, not when it's easy, but every single day. Respect doesn't come from how others see you. It comes from how you see yourself when no one's around. And if you want to change how you see yourself, start with what you do daily. Start with the small habits that build strength over time. Start with the things you've been avoiding, because that's where your self-respect is waiting. Not in words, in action, in discipline, in the quiet, powerful decisions you make every day to become someone worth trusting, someone worth believing in, someone worth respecting. Chapter 7. Let go of people who drain your energy. It's hard to move forward in life when you're constantly surrounded by people who drain your energy. You feel it every time you leave a conversation, feeling smaller, heavier, or more uncertain than before. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. A sarcastic comment, a dismissive attitude, constant negativity, repeated blame, passive pressure to stay the same. And the more time you spend around people like that, the more you start to doubt your growth. You start shrinking your ideas. You second-guess your goals. You hold back your truth just to avoid tension. And little by little, your momentum slows down, not because you don't have potential, but because your environment is pulling it out of you. There's no growth in always trying to prove your worth to people who don't see your value. There's no peace in always feeling like you have to explain yourself just to be understood. And there's no clarity when you're caught in the noise of people who project their fears onto your future. Some people won't support your growth, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your growth reminds them of everything they're not doing. And instead of looking at themselves, they try to dim your light to feel better. That's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to protect your energy. Letting go of people isn't about anger. It's not about revenge. It's not even about conflict. It's about protecting your space. It's about creating room for peace, for honesty, for real connection. Not just surface-level friendships, but real relationships where you can be yourself without fear, where you can grow without guilt, where you can share good news without worrying if someone will secretly feel jealous or try to make you feel bad about it. When someone consistently drains your energy, you feel it physically, you feel tense, you feel tired, you feel distracted. Sometimes you even feel heavy in your chest, like your body is warning you, and we're taught to ignore those signals, to be polite, to be nice, to not cut people off. But here's the truth. You're not cutting people off. You're creating boundaries. You're choosing who gets access to your time, your attention, and your emotions, because all of those things are limited, and if you waste them on the wrong people, you won't have enough left for the ones who matter, or for yourself. The hardest part of letting go is not the distance, it's the guilt. It's the feeling that maybe you're being too harsh, that maybe you owe someone your presence because of history, family, or shared experiences. But you don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone your mental clarity. You don't owe anyone your constant availability just because they've known you a long time. Loyalty has limits when it costs you your well-being. Start paying attention to how you feel after you leave someone. Do you feel more alive or more drained? Do you feel supported or judged? Do you feel understood or dismissed? These answers tell you everything you need to know. You don't need drama to walk away. You don't need a fight. You just need a decision. A quiet decision that says, I deserve better than this, and then follow that decision with action. Less time, less contact, less access. You don't need to announce it. Just shift, gently but clearly. People who truly care about you will notice the shift and ask why. They'll want to grow with you. They'll want to fix the disconnect. They'll want to meet you where you are. But people who only care about what they get from you will be offended. They'll try to guilt you. They'll try to make you question yourself. And that reaction alone tells you who they really are. It's not your job to shrink for their comfort. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to evolve and no longer feel connected. That's not betrayal. That's life. That's maturity. That's moving forward. If someone refuses to grow, refuses to be honest, refuses to support your progress, then holding on to them will only hold you back, and you already know what that feels like. You've already spent enough time carrying relationships that weigh you down. You can't reach your next level surrounded by people who only understand your past. You can't stay inspired when you're constantly defending your ambition. You can't build a strong mindset while absorbing constant negativity. And you can't respect yourself fully while staying tied to people who don't respect your boundaries, your time, or your vision. Letting go doesn't mean you hate someone. It doesn't mean you wish them harm. It just means you're done lowering your energy to stay connected. You're done pretending you don't notice the disrespect. You're done repeating the same emotional cycles, hoping for a different outcome. And most importantly, you're done betraying yourself to keep someone else comfortable. The people you keep close influence your habits, your thoughts, and your decisions more than you realize. If you want to believe in yourself more, if you want to stay focused, if you want to become more disciplined, then you need people who support that energy. You need people who remind you of your strength, people who challenge you to be better, not bitter, people who bring you peace, not pressure. You don't need a crowd. You need alignment. You need a few solid people who make you feel seen and supported. And sometimes that means walking away from the noise so you can finally hear yourself again, so you can rebuild your energy, so you can focus without interruption, so you can breathe without explaining yourself. It's normal to feel afraid when you think about letting go, afraid of being alone, afraid of what people will say, afraid of feeling like a bad person. But staying connected to someone out of fear is not strength. Strength is choosing what's healthy over what's familiar. Strength is creating space for people who truly care. Strength is deciding you're no longer available for one-sided connections. Your energy is your responsibility, and if you don't protect it, someone will keep draining it. Someone will keep taking advantage of your silence. Someone will keep disrespecting your boundaries. That only stops when you decide to stop it. That only changes when you raise your standard and stick to it. The more you respect your energy, the less you tolerate anything that disrupts it. You stop chasing people. You stop explaining yourself. You stop compromising your peace just to feel included. And slowly, your life begins to feel lighter, clearer, stronger, because now you're surrounded by people who add to your life, not subtract from it. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's knowing when something is no longer healthy. It's knowing when you've outgrown a connection. It's knowing when your peace matters more than someone else's opinion, and it's one of the most powerful choices you can make for your mental health, your focus, and your future. You've given enough chances, you've explained enough times, you've waited long enough. If someone keeps showing you they're not good for your energy, believe them, and then move accordingly, quietly, strongly, without guilt, because your energy is your life, and you only get one. Don't waste it trying to save connections that are already fading. Don't waste it trying to prove your worth to someone who never valued it. Let go, not with hate, not with anger, but with clarity, with self-respect, with peace, and then use that energy to build the life you truly want. A life filled with people who see you, support you, and help you rise, not people who keep pulling you down. Chapter 8. Do something difficult to build real inner strength. You don't build inner strength by staying comfortable. You build it by doing something hard that challenges your limits and stretches your willpower. Most people wait until life forces them to grow, but you don't need a crisis to get stronger. You need a challenge that demands your effort and exposes your weakness. That's where real strength is built, not in avoiding difficulty, but in walking into it on purpose and refusing to quit. That's when your mindset shifts from hoping for easier days to becoming someone who can handle harder ones. Doing something difficult isn't just about achievement. It's about becoming someone who respects themselves for pushing through the discomfort. It could be waking up earlier, starting a business, getting in shape, quitting a bad habit, or saying no when you used to say yes. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but it has to cost something. It has to require your focus, discipline, and commitment, because those are the ingredients that create real confidence. Not the confidence that looks good on the outside, but the kind you feel when you're alone, when no one's cheering, when things get tough and you don't give up. You know exactly what's difficult for you right now, that one thing you've been avoiding, that one decision that keeps following you, that challenge you've thought about but never acted on. That's your starting point. That's the thing you need to face to build your next level of strength. And you don't have to feel ready, you don't have to be perfect, you just have to do it anyway. The willingness to move into something hard while being uncertain is the beginning of transformation. Most people avoid difficulty and then wonder why they don't feel strong, but you can't grow by staying in situations that don't test you. If everything is always easy, there's nothing to sharpen your mind. There's nothing that forces you to adjust, to fight, to adapt. And when you avoid those moments, you miss the opportunity to develop resilience. Strength doesn't come from smooth paths. It comes from the pressure you put yourself through and the resistance you choose to lean into. And that resistance will show up in your mind first. You'll feel the urge to quit. You'll look for reasons to walk away. You'll tell yourself you're not ready or that it's too much. That's normal. But that's also the sign that you're exactly where you need to be. Because the hard part is not the task, it's dealing with the voice in your head that wants you to go back to being comfortable. And every time you say no to that voice, you prove to yourself that you're in control, not your fear, not your emotions, not your excuses. There's no shortcut to inner strength. You can't read your way into it. You can't talk your way into it. You have to live it. You have to step into something that feels overwhelming and choose to keep going. Not once, not when it's convenient, but every single day, even when you feel like giving up. That's the moment that builds something inside you. That's when you stop being the person who talks about doing something hard and start being the person who actually does it. You don't need to win every time. You just need to show up and not walk away when it gets tough. That's where your confidence grows. You start trusting yourself again. You stop relying on comfort to feel okay, and you realize that the fear you once had doesn't hold the same weight anymore. Why? Because you faced it. You didn't avoid it. You didn't back down. You looked it in the eye and kept moving forward. Real inner strength comes from the quiet days when no one sees your effort, when you're not posting about it, when you're not talking about how hard it is, when you're just doing the work in silence. Those days count the most. They build something permanent, something that stays with you even when the outside world is uncertain, because now you're not depending on circumstances to feel strong. You're depending on your own ability to rise when things feel heavy. You won't always feel motivated. That's why discipline is the anchor. Discipline means doing what's required, even when your emotions tell you to quit. It means putting in the reps, having the tough conversations, sticking to your routine, and refusing to lower your standard. That's where strength comes from. Not the result, but the process you didn't skip, the process you respected, the process you gave yourself to. And over time, that strength begins to show up in other areas. You stop tolerating weak thinking. You stop blaming other people. You stop making excuses. You become the kind of person who faces hard things because it's who you are, not because you want a trophy, but because you respect the challenge. You understand that doing something hard doesn't just change your situation, it changes your identity. You're not the same person once you've done something difficult. You walk differently. You think more clearly. You respond with more patience. You don't panic when problems show up. You've already been through discomfort, and you know how to handle it. That kind of self-trust is earned, and it's earned every time you make the decision to keep going when it's easier to stop. You don't need to be extreme. You just need to be consistent. Pick something difficult and stick with it. Build the muscle of doing what's hard, even if it's small. That's how you prepare for the bigger challenges. That's how you become the kind of person who doesn't fold under pressure. You've practiced staying steady. You've trained yourself to rise. And that kind of training pays off, not just in results, but in how you feel about yourself every day. Because when you do something difficult and finish it, even when it took everything in you, you earn a kind of pride that nobody can give you. That pride becomes part of your foundation. You look back at the hard days and say, I didn't quit. I made it through. That memory becomes your proof. Proof that you are strong. Proof that you are capable. Proof that you can handle more than you thought. You already know what you need to do. You've thought about it long enough. It's time to stop hesitating and take the first step into the difficult path. Because on the other side of that path is the version of you that's been waiting. The version that's sharper, calmer, stronger. That version doesn't arrive by accident. That version is built in the hard moments, and you get there by doing something that challenges you, that stretches you, that demands more from you than you've ever given. Not someday, not later, now. Right now is the perfect time to step into something that forces you to grow, and once you take that step, commit to it. Don't look for an escape. Look for the strength to keep going, because it's there. You just have to decide to use it. And when you do, you'll find a new level of power you didn't know existed. That power was never outside of you. It was always there, just waiting for you to prove you're ready to carry it. And now it's your move. Do something difficult, and build the kind of inner strength no one can ever take from you. Chapter 9. Give yourself a reason to be proud daily. You can't wait for pride to find you. You have to earn it. Every day, you get a chance to do something that makes you feel good about who you are, not just in public, not just for the world to see, but in private, where it matters most. That quiet moment at the end of the day, when you're alone with your thoughts, when no one else is watching, when you ask yourself, did I do something today that made me proud? That's the moment that defines your self-worth. It's easy to chase validation from the outside, applause, compliments, attention, but those things don't last. They feel good for a moment, and then they fade. What doesn't fade is the pride you build through daily action. It's not about big achievements, it's about consistency, it's about effort. Waiting, it's about living in a way that gives you proof that you didn't coast through the day, proof that you didn't give up when it got hard, proof that you didn't settle for less than your best. You don't need to wait until everything in your life is perfect to feel proud. You just need to do one thing today that requires focus, effort, and intention. Or it could be showing up for your workout, finishing the task you've been avoiding, keeping your cool in a moment where you would have lost it, speaking kindly to someone when you were tempted to be short, or choosing discipline over distraction. These may seem like small wins to others, but you know better, you know what they cost, you know what it takes to push through resistance, and when you do, that sense of pride isn't loud, but it's powerful. Building that kind of pride daily isn't about ego, it's about identity. It's about becoming the kind of person you respect, the kind of person you trust, the kind of person who knows deep down that even on an average day they gave an honest effort, because not every day will be incredible. Some days will be heavy, some days you'll feel off, some days you'll want to check out, but even on those days you can still make one move that makes you feel strong. One action that says, I didn't quit on myself today. You have to stop waiting for motivation. You have to stop hoping for perfect timing. You have to stop thinking you need to feel confident before you take action. That's not how pride works. Pride comes after action, after you follow through, after you do the thing you promised yourself you'd do. That's when the feeling shows up. And the more often you earn that feeling, the more your confidence grows, not because someone told you you're good enough, but because you know you're doing the work. And that's what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. One group is always waiting, waiting for better circumstances, waiting for better energy, waiting for someone to tell them what to do. The other group is building their life one decision at a time. They don't ask, what do I feel like doing today? They ask, what will I be proud of when today ends? That question changes everything. Imagine going to bed every night with the feeling that you did something meaningful with your time, not something flashy, just something real, something intentional, something that moved you closer to who you want to be. That feeling stacks. Over time it creates a sense of direction, it clears your mind, it fuels your discipline, it becomes your standard. But if you go through each day without aiming to do something meaningful, you start to feel numb, disconnected, like the days are just passing, like your energy is getting wasted on things that don't matter. And eventually, you begin to feel like you're losing touch with yourself. That's when the frustration builds. That's when the self-doubt creeps in. Not because you're broken, but because you stopped giving yourself a reason to feel alive. You don't need to win the day in a big way. You just need to do something that you can be proud of when the day ends, something that makes you feel like you pushed yourself, something that proves to you that you're capable of more than excuses, more than distractions, more than what your past tried to tell you. You're not here to waste time. You're not here to repeat the same day over and over again. You're not here to live on autopilot. You're here to grow, to lead yourself, to build something inside of you that no one can take away. And that starts with one question every morning. What can I do today that will make me proud tonight? Then go do it. Don't overthink it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Just start. One action, one choice, one task, one moment of effort. That's all it takes to start shifting your momentum. And once you do, don't minimize it. Don't dismiss it. Don't compare it to someone else's progress. What matters is that you did it. You took control. You moved forward. That's what builds your self-image. That's what rebuilds the way you talk to yourself. That's what makes you look in the mirror and nod your head, knowing you're becoming someone solid. There's nothing more powerful than a person who gives themselves a reason to be proud every single day, because that person doesn't depend on praise. That person doesn't need validation to feel valuable. That person creates confidence from action. That kind of pride can't be bought, and it can't be faked. It's real, it's steady, it's earned. You don't need to change your entire life in a day, but you do need to stop going to sleep with regret. You need to stop ending each night with the feeling that you wasted your time, because regret doesn't just hurt, it robs you, it steals your joy, it drains your drive. But pride gives you energy, it sharpens your focus, it reminds you that you are capable of doing hard things. And once you build that kind of habit, you start changing your entire direction. You won't always want to show up. You won't always feel ready. But you don't need to feel perfect to act. You just need to make the decision to move, to lead yourself, to take back control of the day. Because every single day is a chance to prove something to yourself, not to the world, to you. So stop waiting for big moments to feel good about yourself. Start creating them. Start earning them. Start living like you matter to yourself, because you do. And the more you act like it, the more your life begins to reflect it. One proud decision, every single day. That's how you change everything. Chapter 10. Act like your future depends on this moment. Every single moment is a decision. Every decision shapes your direction. Most people forget that. They think their future is built by what they do someday. What they'll start when things get easier. What they'll commit to when the time feels right. But the truth is, your future is being built right now, with what you choose to do in this exact moment. It's not shaped by intentions, it's shaped by action. It's shaped by what you say yes to, what you say no to, and how you respond when life demands something from you. If you really understood how much power this moment holds, you'd treat it like everything depends on it, because it does. You don't get strong by talking about change. You get strong by acting like this moment is your only shot, because when you treat now like it matters, you stop wasting time. You stop making lazy decisions. You stop repeating habits that always lead you backward, and you start asking yourself better questions. You start asking, what would the best version of me do with this moment? And then you do that, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when it goes against your old patterns. Acting like your future depends on this moment doesn't mean putting pressure on yourself to be perfect. It means treating the moment with respect. It means understanding that one small action right now could be the difference between building momentum and staying stuck. It means deciding that you're not going to wait another day to get serious about who you want to become. You've waited enough. You've thought about it enough. Now it's time to start moving like it matters. Every day you wake up, you're either getting closer to the life you want or further away from it. And the thing that determines the direction isn't motivation, it's behavior. It's how you use your time. It's how you speak to yourself. It's what you choose to tolerate. If you keep treating your days like they're just filler, you'll keep living a life that feels empty. But when you treat this moment like it counts, you stop floating and start building. You stop surviving and start creating. You don't need more time. You need more focus. You need to stop getting distracted by what doesn't matter. You need to stop choosing comfort over growth. You need to stop giving energy to things that don't move you forward. Because while you're scrolling, while you're avoiding, while you're complaining, your future is being shaped. And every time you choose to ignore the weight of that truth, you give away the chance to make your life better right now. There's no power in later. Later is where your potential goes to die. Later is where dreams stay frozen. Later is where regret is born. The only place where change actually happens is now. This moment, this breath, this decision. You want to be proud of your life. Start acting like this moment matters. Start acting like who you are becoming is directly connected to what you choose today. When you act like your future depends on this moment, you stop negotiating with your goals. You stop asking for permission to succeed. You stop watering down your standards to fit in with people who don't want to grow. And you start showing up with purpose. You start waking up and choosing discipline over distractions. You start holding yourself accountable to your own potential. This moment is the doorway. It's the test. It's the turning point. Most people miss it because they think real change has to be big, loud, dramatic. But real change is quiet. It's small. It's often inconvenient. It looks like getting up when you'd rather stay down. It looks like working when you're tired. It looks like staying focused when your mind wants to drift. And if you treat those small moments like they matter, they stack, they create momentum, they build strength, they change everything. Think about the life you want to live. Think about the person you want to be. Then look at how you're using this moment right now. Does it line up? Does your behavior reflect the standard you say you want? If not, then it's time to shift. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now, because nothing changes until your choices change. And the choice you make in this moment is more powerful than all the plans you'll ever write down. You're not stuck because of your past. You're stuck because of what you keep doing with the present. And the good news is, you can change that instantly. You can reset your direction right here. You can make a better choice, take a stronger step, and demand more from yourself. Not because someone told you to, but because you know that time is moving with or without you. And if you don't act like your future matters now, you'll end up with a life that feels like a mistake. The people who build lives they're proud of don't have more talent, they have more urgency. They treat every moment like a building block. They don't waste time. They don't make excuses. They don't act like they've got forever. They act like today is the only day they've got. And even when they fail, even when they fall behind, they don't stay there. They get back up and make the next moment count. You can do the same. You don't need permission. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to own this moment. You just need to stop treating your time like it's disposable. You just need to stop saying maybe later and start saying I'm doing it now. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you shift your identity. That's how you build a future you actually want to live. It's easy to underestimate what one decision can do, but the truth is, your entire life could change because of one choice made in one moment, one conversation, one workout, one commitment, one boundary, one apology, one idea followed through with action. It doesn't take 100 changes, it takes one moment fully owned, and when you learn to treat each moment that way, you become someone who doesn't need to be told what to do. You already know what you need to do. You already know what you've been avoiding. You already know what would move your life forward if you just committed to it. So the question isn't, what should I do? The question is, when will I stop waiting to do it? You've waited long enough. You've talked yourself out of enough chances. You've lived small long enough. This moment is here. It's real. It's yours. It's not a rehearsal. It's not a placeholder. It's the beginning of everything that comes next. And how you treat it determines whether you stay in cycles or move into something better. So take it seriously, respect it, lead it, act like your future depends on it, because it does. And once you make that shift, you'll never see time the same way again. You'll use it, you'll honor it, and you'll build something with it that you can be proud of for the rest of your life.